that goes that way. This pushes in, and then you go, the whole thing comes off like that. Nope, not even close. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Beautiful day. This one I'm counting it. 99 Ford Mustang. You know, if we're gonna call OBS pickups and stuff classics, then eventually it's not a Fox body, I know, but eventually this is gonna be the next thing. Nothing too fancy about this ride. It is the, you know, convertible top, but 3.8 V6 car. It's kind of these folks' beat around car, but it needs a little bit of love. It's got two issues. Number one, the check engine light's on, so we'll have to see what that, you know, means. And then number two, and let's see if it'll do it here first thing this morning. It starts, sometimes it doesn't, and the customer says that, you know, they think maybe the fuel pump doesn't always come on. I can hear it, it's just not very loud. Let's see if you guys can hear it. It's priming back there. Let's see if it'll start. No. Let's try it again here. Okay, I can hear it's getting louder now. Now it's even louder. And it starts. So we got a little bit of a fuel delivery issue, and right off the bat it seems like the pump is losing its prime, or the fuel system is losing its pressure, and the pump is not doing a good job of pressurizing things back up. And then we've got the check engine light, so you know, maybe that's part of it. I don't know. Let's get in the shop here and see. Otherwise runs pretty good, seems to. A little uneven idle, a little high idle, and that kind of thing. But let's get it in here. Take a look. 147,000 miles almost. All right, scan tool time. Let's read some codes. Now, I know I've said this a few times. This isn't my preferred cup of tea to work on the computerized electronic stuff, but you know, times are changing, and we're into the 90s now for classics, and so we're going to work on a little bit of it. Plus, when good friends need a little assistance with their car, we're going to just help them out. That's what we do here in the Heartland. We got a code, P0156. That's an O2 sensor code. This particular one is the O2 circuit bank 2 sensor 2. So when it says sensor 2, that means the sensor behind the catalytic converter. And then bank 2, this is a V6, so you have one set of cylinders be bank 1, one set is bank 2. I don't know which of those is which right now, but let's go ahead. That's the only code. So, and now we're back to this hard starting thing again. And you can tell when the fuel pump starts to be to where you can hear it easily, it'll start. So we've got a fuel pump issue as well. But yeah, we've got it idling, and it's a little cold right now. But let's go into live data, and first of all, let's look at some stuff. And we learned this from just a video or two ago, that you're not going to be able to see the screen, so I'm just going to have to narrate, I guess. We're in closed loop already, so that's good. Look at some fuel trims here. Nothing too crazy. Bank 2 fuel, short-term fuel trim. is negative 13. Long-term fuel trim on bank 2 is plus 9. Let's go down. O2 sensor info. And let's see, we got bank 1 sensor 1. Looks like it's working okay. Bank 1 sensor 1. Fuel trim percentages are good. Okay, here's something. We had to let it get warmed up just a little bit and to kind of wake up those O2 sensors. We got bank 1 sensor 2 is floating around 0.01 to 0.04 volts, moving around nicely and making adjustments. And before and after fuel trims look nice. And then we come down to bank 2 sensor 2, that's our code, remember, and we're stuck on 0.000 volts. And then it looks like it's just in some sort of a limp mode. It's still cycling a little bit, but not seeing any change in that O2 sensor that, you know, will help it to adjust fuel trim so the car's happy. It's not moving at all. It's just flat zero. So that means there's an open there. It's got an open circuit. Could be a bad O2 sensor. First, let's go under there and see if we can figure out which bank is bank 2. Sometimes they switch them side to side, front to back, if the engine's in there sideways. This one I think is in a north to south configuration, but let's crawl under there first and see what we see. I got a sneaky suspicion that, you know, it might be something simple. Okay, I think we've got enough room now. Let's so like I said, we're looking for, well, in this case they're actually in the cat converters. O2 sensor 2, that's this guy. And oh, this guy, can you see here? Look, yeah, look right here, you guys. That's a broken, damaged wire. And then where's the rest of it? It's in this sheathing somewhere. There it is. There's the other half, and then we also have some damage to this white wire here, and possibly this white wire. No, that one doesn't look like it's nicked yet. This one definitely is, and this black wire, which, you know, black is a lot of times used for ground, that is why we have an open circuit in O2 sensor number 2, and I'm gonna bet, I think we can deduce that this is bank 2. Yeah, we might get out of this fairly affordable for these folks. We're gonna get this half of the connector off, and we'll first try to repair these 2 wires and see if this O2 sensor will wake up. It should. I don't know how long it's been running, you know, dormant, but it might just decide to go back into, you know, full-time employment and save these folks some money. So let's fix these wires up and go from there. We might have, you know, customer complaint number 1 fixed up pretty quick here. Okay, a couple of heat shrink connectors, some electrical tape, and also on that one wire that it wasn't nicked, but it had a little bit of a check in the sheathing. I put a little bit of liquid electrical tape on that, just schmoed it on there underneath here. And then a little tape, like I said, we're plugged back in. Let's go see if we get any voltages out of this and if the computer likes it better now. Hey, good news, and I know, I'm sorry you can't see it, but bank 2 sensor 2 woke back up and it's motivating just like bank 1 sensor 2. So we're going to clear this code, take this little hot rod for a little bit of a road test, and hopefully we'll have number one issue resolved. I can tell you right now, the idle is much better. It's lower. The thing's running much more smoothly. So I think we're on the road to recovery. We do still have fuel pressure issues, but let's get this cleared up and move on from there. Well, that worked out, but I guess there is a third customer complaint that they mentioned, was that it idles fast. We didn't see that cold, but now we're driving a little bit, and yeah, we're at about, oh, can you see that 1400 RPM or so? Oh, here we go, RPMs. And the only thing I'm seeing, idle air, fuel trim, all that looks really nice, but the throttle position sensor is at 20.4%, and we're sitting here parked in front of the shop, and I can physically push on the accelerator pedal a ways before it changes and before the speed increases. And then if I run it up, it runs up just fine. That is not good stuff. So let's try simple stuff and do a little diagnostics and go from there. Okay, this is throttle position sensor, and so you can unplug this. There's the 3-wire connector. On this one, the bottom wire now that's shown now is ground. The top wire is the power from the ECU, which should be about 5 volts. And then the middle wire is the signal that gets sent back to the ECU from the sensor. And it's basically a rheostat. So it's just monitoring where this is at in the sweep. So according to the interwebs, at idle, this should be putting out between 0.95 to 1 volt, somewhere in there. And we've already checked, it does have good, I think 5.4 volts from the ECU, so that's good. And we've checked the ground side, so we know that it's got good power to it and it's got good ground to it. And now we're going to check the signal going back out. So we'll turn key on. These guys right now. Multimeter on, and we're grounded over at the battery. Then we back probe the middle connector on that 3-wire plug, and we're at 1.05. Now that may not seem like much, but it is out of spec. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our throttle up here, and we're going to move it and make sure that the sweep is smooth. I saw an out of limits right there for a second. I thought, which would mean open. Then we come back and we're at 1.04. Let's back up again. There's just one little glitch on the upward swing. I think that's just where the meter is moving the decimal point. So I'm not going to condemn this throttle position sensor, but what we are going to do is there's 2 screws right here, one there and one down here. You can loosen that and tweak it just a little bit, and we're going to try to get and see if that doesn't help our idle a little bit. And I'm talking minute adjustments here. Okay, there's 992. We're gonna go ahead and snug this bottom up just a little bit too. Now we're down to 988. Let's start it up and see how that idles. pressure. We still got the fuel pressure issue. Now with it running, we're bouncing about 1.1. Let's go look at the tach and see what our idle says. And look at our data and see how much throttle we have. Okay, so that's what we like to see. Gosh darn glare. We're right at like 750 on the tach. We'll wake up our data and see here. And now we're down to 18% throttle. And from what I can tell on the interwebs and stuff, 18 seems to be fairly acceptable. So I'm liking this. Let's put it in gear. Yeah, it's not pulling it down too much, and we go into gear. Life is pretty good there. Pulls it down to about 650 maybe, but the car doesn't shudder, anything like that, doesn't want to stall. We're gonna hold that there now, and pending a final road test, we're gonna call that, you know, preliminarily solved as far as the high idle. Now, why did the throttle position sensor all of a sudden decide that, you know, it wanted to idle faster? I don't know. But there's nothing to indicate that it's really going bad. We'll know if it continues to creep up or becomes erratic in that swing, that, you know, later on down the road we got to put a TPS in it. Let's move on to fuel pressure though, because it's really even irritating me not being able to start this thing right. So on this fuel rail, the tie-in for the Schrader valve is here, and the engine's hot, so I don't like that. My theory is kind of sort of correct, that this thing is not holding pressure. We should not see a whole lot, ouch, of fuel spillage when we twist these on. Ow. So far we've got 0. Okay, we got her. We are at 30 pounds of fuel pressure, 30 psi, and I'm going to take a break here for just a second and look up what the spec is. I guarantee you that's probably low, but before we do that, let's shut off the ignition and see how fast that drains back. Yeah, the 30 is probably real low, and at the very least looks like we might be holding around 20. No, it's still going down. Maybe we'll just time lapse this part. Well, it kind of seems like it may have leveled out at about 12, which is unacceptable. But now let's give it some keyage and see if we can pressurize back up. Not much there. A little more there. Wow. No wonder this thing starts hard. Let's see if it'll start. Back up to 30 once we're running. Let's look up the spec and we'll see what we got to do here. Well, just as I thought, spec is 48 to 50. and it says it should prime right up when you turn the key to run. So yeah, we're just a little bit less than that. Even if we threw a pump in this thing, we're gonna throw a filter in anyway. So let's do a filter. Let's see how clogged it is. It could just be that the filter's, you know, really clogged. Usually that leads to premature fuel pump failure, but let's start there. Now the filter on these jobs is above the rear axle, just in front of the fuel tank, right there-ish. So where can you guys sit and watch at? I don't know. What about like over here? Nope. How about nope? Well, we're gonna have to get you a tripod. Okay, here's fuel filter. First we gotta get these little clippy clues off of here. I've got an actual hose clamp that holds it to the bracket. Ow, that wasn't cool. You know, it's supposed to go just slicker than snot. Okay, that goes that way. This pushes in, and then you go. The whole thing comes off like that. Nope, not even close. Okay, I thought that was pretty good right there. There it goes. It was pretty good. Oh, I got dirty fuel running down my arm. So there's one hint. Okay, we got it. Like I said, Motorcraft, so could have just been a dealer install or somebody using a Motorcraft filter, but let's take it outside here real quick. Give it the old huffer and puffer test. Well, it ain't good, but I've seen worse. New one should be here any second from Irish, and we'll see what it does. Better but not happy. That's what I'm putting my odds on right now. Okay, we just clipped the fuel lines on for now because I don't have a ton of faith in just this being a filter issue, but it's back there, it's installed, lines are on. First prime, we got nothing. Second prime, we got nothing. Third prime, we've got like 5. We did start. And we're going to sit right at 30 again. Now, one thing I didn't mention is the fuel filter in no way will help the fact that this is bleeding fuel back off. So, but had to try it first. Unfortunately, the Irish is gonna have to make another trip. Okay, pump should be on the way. Here's what you gotta unhook, as far as I can tell so far, to get this tank out. You've got two vent lines. One probably goes to charcoal. It's just kind of a slip fit. You got this guy that probably goes to the tank. It's got one of these little clip doohickeys in the fitting. You got the wiring harness here. This end goes to the tank. This end, I take that back. We might pop this guy out, because he might actually go to the tank. One of those two ends goes to the tank. And then over here, you've got one of the evap hoses that's right here. You got to disconnect, and it has one of these funky clippies in it. You got to spread those and then pull it all the way out, and then your tube can come apart. And then, kind of like what we did before, we take the tank side of the fuel line off, and then there's an evap here. Now this one you just squeeze, and I had to use a little screwdriver action just to get it off of there, but squeeze it and then it'll come off of there. So I think we're to a point now where we can loosen our strap bolts. I'm not sure in the Fords the main fill tube goes into like a rubber grommet. I'm assuming that's just gonna kind of pop out of there as we lower it, but I guess we'll find out what happens there when it happens. But yeah, I think we're doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I think that'll work. Woo. That's the old farm cars. Okie dokie. What do we got? What are we doing? Oh yeah, this is just gonna pop out, I think. That's what it's like and acting like anyway. Here's a fun fact for you. It's got a plastic skid, but the tank is actually metal in this ride. Kinda wasn't expecting that to be the case. And we gotta figure out how this filler's just gonna come out, I think. Okay. Can we go down some more? Okay. Okay. Let's take another look. Man, seems like this is going pretty smooth right now. Got the filler neck, and I think that's it to worry about. Yeah, and if it'll come out of there, Oh my gosh, how far did it go in there? No. Uh-oh. Hang on. Oh boy. Will it stay? Kinda, sorta. It will not. We gotta pull. Come on. There we go. Yee. Ooh-wee. Okay, well, I got the kind of jamming on this. I didn't show you the pump removal and installation. Cleaned all this off. There's 6 8mm little bolts in here. Pump comes out. This hat is separate from the module. So you have a hose that goes down into here and a wire harness that goes down. The module sits in a cup inside the tank, and there's 2 tabs, one over here, one over here. You got to spread those tabs apart, lift the hat up, finagle those hard plastic fuel lines around, and then the hat comes out and the module comes out. And the same way with the new one, the module and the cup goes down in there and snaps in, and then you got to snake in the fuel line. The sender goes off this way, the sock filter goes off this way, and then this bolts back down. The seal is integrated into the cap here, and that's about it. It has 2 pigtails. This is hardwired in, and then it goes over to here. This I'm sure that's some sort of a vent purge solenoid or something, and then here is your main harness connector, and it gives us a new nubbin for the frame end, because we got a little aggressive and broke ours. So we're going to go back in. I expect most of the problem, as was coming out, is going to be with this fill gasket and the fill tube. We got to get some dielectric grease or something and lubricate that tube, and then we're going to have to weasel it in here and hope for the best. I don't feel any nicks. This gasket feels real good. Wasn't leaking at all, so we should be okay. Everything else connects and disconnects swimmingly. So, all right, enough rambling. Back on the parts cleaner tripod you go. I'm gonna lift this, well, I'm gonna jack this back up in there, get it all hooked back up. Shouldn't really be too bad, and we'll see what we got. That was not even half bad. We're connected over here. Everything's nice. Let's get this a prime with the key. We got some air bled out now. Tell me, yell out the number, whatever the PSI is, would you? Well, looky there. 45-ish right there. Let's run her one more time. Yeah. Now we're right there. And more importantly, it's holding, guys and gals. So that means it's not going to bleed back, and you're not going to have to crank on this thing for days after you park it at the grocery store, the liquor store, the potato chip store, wherever it is. Holding well. All right, we're going to put this thing on the ground. Let's go for one more spin, And then we'll see. We might be done with this, or we might be doing some cosmetics to it. All right, we've been driving for probably 15 minutes now. Did some highway driving, did some in-town driving. So we're gonna hit the highway a few miles back to the shop, and I think we got the mechanicals on this thing licked. We'll report back to the customer and see what they want to do about maybe, you know, some beautification efforts. But as far as the mechanical issues, we got no check engine light. That stayed off since we fixed the wiring to the O2 sensor. We've got no high idle issues anymore. We were able to adjust that throttle position sensor just a little bit and tested it, and life is good there. And now we've got good fuel pressure, and fuel trims all look good. No hesitation, good power on the road. Mechanicals are fixed. Appreciate you watching this one. We might do a little bit more on the Mustang. We're back on the other stuff. Catch you on the next video.